too. I said we when we do a post them.
You said what?
I think you cut out a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, I'm live here in that. So let me refresh here. And see if it's sure. Oh, okay, we're good. We're live now. All right, bet. Okay. Bet. All right. Okay, we are all right. We're live. Bet. Cool. So, what's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, Elena, can we say something? Can you hear me, Elena? Elena. Hold on, let me message her because I don't think she can. Lena, can you hear me? Thumbs up? No. Okay. All right, y'all. We almost here. We almost here. You know, we just having some we just trying to get people together. Oh, but we just through the technical difficulties, we can be good. This is gonna be good. And Lena, let me see if we can get her back on.
I can hear you now.
There we go.
All right.
All right, can you hear us?
I can.
All right, we can hear you.
Good deal.
All right. All right, everybody. Through all the technical issues and stuff, we're good. We're here. My name is Anthony. Welcome to SPADE, the podcast live. What's going on, y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up? So I've got a returning guest that you guys already know, Xavier from Kingdom Thoughts Podcast. What's going on, Xavier? What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? You doing all right?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man.
And then I've got a new member to my podcast and a good friend of mine that I have not seen in years. Grew up in church together. Lena, what is going on with you? How are you?
I am good. What is going on? Xavier and Anthony, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Wow. This is like a Mount Sinai reunion.
Is it not? Where it all began. Where it all began. Good times. Gosh. Great times. Great times.
Great times.
Great
times.
It was a good a good foundation to
What?
build
It
from.
was
Lord.
definitely
Good
good found.
foundation. Absolutely.
Remember we were in the Spartanburg location and you were the step team leader and everything.
Yes, Lord. That's
Me,
hilarious.
I think I was 9 years old, 9 or 10.
Good Lord Almighty.
Hmm.
Make me feel a little bit older. Hey.
Yes, but tell everybody who you are and what you're doing now.
Well, I am Elena, mostly now known as Chef AK. I have started a catering business about like 2019. Named the catering business in honor of my grandmother. It's called El Willie's. It's been going pretty well. Started right pretty much before COVID, and actually relocating back to Atlanta. But
Okay.
everything is going well now. Actually, had a feature article just drop on, I believe it was Tuesday, in Voyage ATL. They do feature stories
Nice.
on local entrepreneurs, small business, things like that. So if you get a chance, check that out. It is you can go on the website Voyage magazine, as well as go on Facebook. So I have my own catering business, building a brand. You can follow me on social media under Chef AK_AK1 on IG, or you can go under L Willies at 324 on IG. See some of my featured food, things like that.
Nice.
Had opportunity to be on a reality show called Women in the Life Atlanta.
Ooh.
Done a few things. Currently have a podcast with a co-host a podcast called Rainbow Tea with AK and Kyrie. So God's blessing. God's blessing.
Yeah. Congratulations for
Thank you
everything.
so much.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That is
Slow
what's up.
motion. Just partnered with a couple of people. We're in the beginning stages, build out stages to open an actual brick and mortar restaurant. So be a
Nice.
lunch brunch location. So make sure you follow on social media, see the platform for that when we do a grand opening. Definitely send you guys an invite. I know you're
Yes.
not coming
Yes.
to Atlanta too quick because of the traffic, but but being able, but but just everything is life is lifing, but God is still blessing. So
Absolutely.
Yes. God is still good. Yeah.
Congratulations.
absolutely,
You are a
Yeah.
busy person.
I try to be. I try to be. I try to be.
Absolutely.
One thing I always knew. My grandmother used to always say, um, she always used Philippians 4:13. You can do all things, and make sure you do what you want to do. God equips you with everything you need inside to be able to
Mhm.
accomplish any and everything you want to do. Everything you need is inside of you.
Yeah.
But if you can help someone along the way, then your living is not in vain.
Go.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so live by it every
Xavier,
day.
Xavier, so what is going on with you? What is the word? What's new with you?
Hey man, it's the same old husband life, dad life, student life. That's me. Yes, sir.
I
That keeps you
feel you.
busy.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
How did
I love it.
Absolutely. That's
that's
wonderful.
what's that's what's up. That's what's up. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Before we go ahead and talk about the topic that we were going to discuss today, I want to do a little icebreaker because Thanksgiving is around the corner.
Mm.
And what is y'all's favorite Thanksgiving dish that y'all can't like? That's got to be cooked on Thanksgiving. So
Ooh.
what has got to? What is it?
Mm, that's a good one.
Yes.
Seemed like everything because I always end up having to cook something.
I know they had you in the kitchen.
And
Right.
and friend, I try not to be. I try not to be. I was like, I will host. I will host. Y'all can come over. Just bring a dish. Just bring a dish. They'll show up with some plates and some to go.
Heavy on the foil.
Right.
But you chef it.
That's what they feel like. That's just automatic. I thought you gonna cook everything. I was like, no, ain't what you signed up for. I had my mama told somebody, I told them you were doing greens. I was like, well, mama, you lied.
We ain't discussed that, mom. No.
We didn't talk about that.
Right.
Let's talk about who made the potato salad. Let's talk about that.
Oh. Look, all I know is for my potato salad, I do not want any raisins in my potato salad. No. Nah.
We don't do the raisins.
Nah.
No, we're gonna leave those alone.
Mm-hmm. Leave that alone. and I don't want anybody experimenting with dishes during Thanksgiving.
No. It's not a beginner cooker holiday at all.
No. We need you to sign up to bring the plates, the cups, and stuff like that.
See, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. I bring the cups and the plates and all that. I'm sure we stocked up on utensils.
So you don't cook?
Not enough for Thanksgiving. No, like I'm good. I can fry some chicken. I can cook a little of the meats and all that. But all the delicate type of stuff for Thanksgiving. Nah, I wouldn't try to mess up nobody's house.
Look, I saw on this it was this this TikToker or Facebook post, they were doing like this macaroni and cheese sweet potato pie, and
I want to try
it. You want to try it,
dude? Because you ain't never had that sweet potato pie and the corner of that macaroni accidentally put it together. Yeah, see.
I mean, it just didn't.
You got that savory, that sweet savory taste to it.
Yes.
I don't know, because
they could be on the plate together, but I don't know about incorporating it together.
But I mean, just the macaroni on top of on the sweet potato pie. That's a little much.
Like it a hit, dude.
That's a remix.
Oh.
Absolutely.
That's a remix. Now okay. I do this what I call a soul bowl, which actually the base of it is like the cornbread, then they have like the greens, little sweet potato, and then like whatever meat is on top, and it's called a soul bowl. If you like to eat together, now it's good, but I don't know about cooking sweet potatoes in the macaroni. But
you should bring a little bit of that soul bowl up back in and I'll make a trip.
When I make it back to the Carolinas, I'm a holler at you. I got a soul bowl for you.
Please do.
I got one for you.
Oh God. All right, last question. Okay. So, who likes chitlins? Do y'all like chitlins?
Yes, I don't do those.
You don't do them?
No, I don't do them.
Why? You should know.
I don't like our yeah, I don't do the chitlins. I don't really eat them. I don't do them. I don't mind. They got they have their place. It's just not on my plate. That's it. They have their place. Yeah, just not on my plate. That's all. But I see them people. They had them chitlins with their little rice and little hot sauce and all that there.
So you don't cook?
I prefer not to.
You prefer
I just prefer
not.
not to. Yeah, that's not my thing. We haven't joined together. We haven't built a relationship yet where I really want to. I really want.
See, I love people like Lena because it means it's more for me.
There,
Yeah.
there it is. There it is.
You
You can
look,
you
the
can have
baby
my
I'm with.
portion.
Just know.
Oh,
I will
all
share my
right.
portion. That's it now.
Oh, all right. We're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna roll on because I
All
don't want to
right.
keep y'all too.
Let's
All
do it.
right. So basically, with this podcast episode, pretty much I've been seeing a lot of people been dealing with grief. Grief is such a heavy topic, especially during the holidays, because a lot of people don't know how to be able to handle, the holidays, dealing with grief and dealing with the loss of loved
Mhm.
ones, and they just they don't want to be able to they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to emotionally deal with grief. And so this podcast live was, I want to discuss, like, how can we um come up with I guess you can say, a roadmap to help process grief and how to um help somebody through that process. And my very first question that I want to start off is, what was life like during the holidays, before the loss of your loved ones?
Uh,
So,
you go ahead and take.
one of
Um,
y'all.
I think for me, Thanksgiving, was the time where we all came together. So
Mhm.
giving was great. I think Christmas was more personal time. It was just me, my mother, and my sister um,
Mhm.
around Christmas time. I remember my mother; she used to always wake us up every year, like we didn't know the
Mhm.
story, but she sat us down, told us the story of Jesus being born.
Yeah.
What the real Christmas was. So I mean, holidays was great. Growing up, I can honestly say, around Christmas time, most kids looked toward the gifts, and which of course I did. But I'm
Yeah.
more of a relationship type guy. I've always,
Mhm.
when I was a child, I just
Mhm.
love that time, spending together. So I mean, holidays for me growing up, and before my mother passed away in 2011 was,
Mhm.
nothing but smiles and good memories, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think holidays were, as you say, you always as when you're younger, you have fun memories. You just
Mhm.
remember everybody being together. Um,
Mhm.
just the food, the laughter, the cutting up or whatever,
Yeah.
and it was. I think Thanksgiving was more of a time where you had pretty much everybody comes together.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's always one relative that will host, and everybody come, all variations of family, siblings and things like aunts, uncles, everybody. Christmas the same time was more of an intimate thing with your immediate family. So it makes
Mhm.
it makes a difference um, when those individuals were there. You have those memories sometimes. So I think that when you get to a space when they're like now currently and they're no longer there, you're like, man,
Yeah,
you have those moments, you're like, man, and
Yeah.
and those memories just kind of flood. They just kind of
Yeah.
flood, like, where you
Yeah.
remember certain things you were doing, certain things people said with
Yeah.
your loved ones. You can remember certain things they wore. And it's interesting how that happens a lot of times because you have um, how those memories become so vivid. They become so clear. It's like HD TV just playing your mind.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can remember. during even between Christmas and Thanksgiving, my great grandmother, we would play card games with her because she loved Pity Pat. Pity Pat, she would love that. So we would play those games, and every time she'll have a mate made of cards with her, she'd be like, hold it. And she'll get the cards. It'll be hilarious the way she'll say that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if we did. I think we did bingo too. That she liked bingo, but definitely Pity Pat. Pity Pat was like her favorite game.
I'm not mad at her. That was actually my first card game I ever learned, and my grandmother taught it to me.
Wow.
That was the first game I ever learned. Then then I learned some other stuff that I probably wasn't supposed to, but but that was one of the first games I learned. So I'm not mad at great grandma. All right.
Yeah. Mother, she made sure we played that game, and then after that, then we will break off. We'll play our spades and tonk, etc. Yeah, but yeah, it's good times. And then I can remember when she would cook her that cornbread in the cast iron skillet.
Absolutely.
Oh,
that's
so
some good
good.
eating.
So good. So good. So take me through the process, and I know this may be a little difficult for you guys, but just take me through the process of when you lost your loved one, from handling the whole grieving process, like from your daily activities to explaining, like to your children, what happened, to the business side of it, as far as like handling funeral arrangements, to how did you process and cope with the whole experience? Like, how was that whole experience with that? Xavier, you want to go ahead?
Mine was a little different because I was in high school with my first major loss, with was my mother, of course. I was a senior in a month into my senior year, and she passed away on the 17th of September. But when that day came, I was kind of I want to say ready, because you're never ready, but I was kind of prepared, because 6 days before, September 11th, I never forget it. I was in Greenwood at my father's house, and he was actually up in the middle of his sermon preaching, and I remember the church phone ringing. At that time, he was a pastor of a small Baptist church. In the small Baptist church, you can hear everything. I never the phone ringing, like the church phone kept ringing, and I knew something was wrong then, because at the time my mother was in Atlanta, kind of like a last resort type of thing. Family was desperate, just trying to save her life. She was at a natural holistics doctor, and already by this time she had suffered a seizure, which kind of left her in a vegetative state. So of course I'm worried the entire time, trying to figure out, keep school up, trying to keep a smile on my face, but inside I'm just all over the place. And I never forget, the phone kept, knew something was wrong, and my father had to literally leave the pulpit because one of the deacons told him that the phone call was for him. And I knew then that confirmed, kind of my suspicion. And he didn't tell me, of course, until after, that we had to rush to Atlanta where my mother was, because she had suffered a stroke. Another. And so, I'm seeing her, and then my Aunt Ann telling us I never forget, she told me and my sister that, can we just come in and tell my mother that it was okay for her to transition, because she had fought for so long. She always said she would see, her children just making it, into the real world. That's all she wanted to see. And having to look at her, so many tubes and stuff connected to her. So I kind of knew, that's the day that I kind of processed the fact that, any day now my mother would, transition. And 6 days later on the 17th, we got the call that she had passed away. And so this for me, unfortunately, was kind of like disassociating myself from everything and everyone. Because my sister's 5 years older than me. So I'm 17. My sister had already been out of the house for like 4 years with college and, doing the whole adult life. She was married, had her first child, my niece. So it was just me and my mother. So that was kind of, I went from her being my everything to now having nothing, in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So disassociated myself from everything. My grades in school started to slip. Like I would go home and I would just literally cut off the lights and just stay in the dark, until it was time for me to do it again. And that was kind of my life for the next 2.5, 3 years. My wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but she was there. My aunt was there. People were just trying to see the old me, but I really didn't know how to be the old me because that was wrapped up in the person that I just lost. So I mean, it was a very rough go. I would say the first 3.5 years, dealing with anxiety, um, anger issues. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
lightest thing could set me off. So, especially around these times, holidays, it really wasn't until I had a come to Jesus moment. I was in the room, literally just me, my wife, and God kind of had to tug on my heart to um, draw me into Him, draw me back to what I knew. That was like 3 or 4 years later. So I mean, the grief process really doesn't have a timetable. Talking about 3.5 years that I just was back and forth. And even after that, even that realization with God, it was still sometimes a struggle. So, that whole grieving process is very unpredictable, to say the least.
I'll agree with that.
Absolutely.
There's no time frame.
Not at all. Not
There's
at
no
all.
time frame at all.
Mm.
When you're one thing that I struggled with for me was for a moment to when your everything that your what you know to be your everyday,
Mm,
that constant that's been in your life is no longer there.
absolutely.
And that was what do I do? You have like what do I do? Um
Yeah.
experiencing with like I was very close with my grandmother. Most people thought, even at church, most people thought that Mama Kelly was actually my mother, but she was my grandmother. That's all I know. That's where I where I grew up, and
Right. Right.
her and my grandfather. It was hard. One thing I used to always say, and even living here in Atlanta previously before coming back to South Carolina, because I would always say, I'm not moving back to South Carolina. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? But
Yeah.
it didn't hit me to after, but God orchestrated for me to be there. Um, job transition, uh, went to Charlotte, then back in Greenville, and then back in Greenville kind of set up state, built a home, everything. And when all this was happening was when kind of like things turned health wise for my grandmother.
Mm,
She was in renal
Mm.
failure and things of that nature. She would always, say she wasn't going to go on, do certain things or whatever. She kept pushing. And what was interesting was when her health started failing, um, my grandfather was always that person also to, he was like, I'm not going to no doctor. They just want a copay. They just want a copay. So, yeah, but his health had started transitioning as well. And he ended up on dialysis actually before my grandmother.
mm,
And to see them start to go through what they were going through, I used to always say, what would I do without my grandparents? What would I do without my grandmother? My grandmother was my everything. That was my best friend. I talked to my grandmother about any and everything, and she was always that person that was there. for me in whatever state, whatever state I was in, whatever I was going through. It could be early morning or late night, whatever. We have conversations, and I always felt as though, like, what would I do? But I felt it. The things I'm saying now, it was not a realization then, but I understood it later. But I feel as though that I was being prepared, and my grandmother was preparing me to be there with them, to go through what they went through health wise, and to be of assistance in whatever capacity that looked like, financially, whatever they needed. I wanted to make sure they had it. I worked, I busted my tail to do whatever it was that I needed to do. And even prior to transition, I never forget, we were sitting on the porch. It was Mother's Day, and I was talking to her and told her that I wanted to, open a restaurant one day and wanted to do some things. And, she was like, "You can do it, God got it." And her favorite good word was hallelujah, And so I said, Grandma, I said, "What if I name it after you? What if I name it after you?" She was like, "You gonna name something L. Willis?" I said, "Yeah, it's different, it's different." But my grandmother had failed in going to dialysis one morning. My brother had gave up his apartment, and he was residing with them because at this point they needed round the clock care. And my other family members, Crystal and my mom, auntie, everybody, was kind of pitching in. And she fell, and she went to. They just figured she had a little bump. They took her to the ER, and she went to. She still ended up doing her dialysis or whatnot. And so that afternoon, I talked to her, and we talked every day. And I said, Grandma, I said, they say you first said. She was like, Lane, I think I broke my neck. I was like, Grandma, you ain't break your neck now. I don't think you broke your neck. They wouldn't let you go home if you broke your neck. And she was, but she was in pain. And about, actually, this was 2017. Actually, the Falcons was going to the Super Bowl, and that was, my team. I know they ain't doing much now, but I wanted making plans to go. Wanted to go. And she ended up going to the hospital again because she had been in a lot of pain and discomfort. And my brother was like, Lane, every time I try to lift her there, she's crying and whatnot. So she went to the hospital, and she actually had broken her neck. Her neck was broken. Her third vertebrae was broken.
Wow.
And so they had her in a contraption and whatnot. And she was there. She was still Mama Kelly, She was, talking and whatnot, and talked to her. Family came, to see her and whatnot. And I said, "Well, Grandma, I'm gonna go." She's like, "Yo, Falcons." I said, "Yes, ma'am." And so, but what was interesting was when I got there, I couldn't enjoy the game. It was just something that wouldn't. It didn't feel right. Something felt different. And that night, my aunt Tina was there, and she called and she said that grandmother had basically suffered a stroke, and things kind of took a turn. But I knew before I had left, she was talking in there, and I was like, "Well, what happened?" Because she was talking, everything she had just told me. Because I was laying over a bed before I left, and she was like, "You need to leave me a piece of change." And I said, "Girl, what you need some money for?" We were joking back and forth, but then I came home over early that morning, and something told me to go get my grandfather. And so I went and picked my grandfather up, and we went to the hospital. And my grandfather was starting to experience a little bit of dementia, a little. But when we got there and we went in, and I actually still have the video to the day, and I just kind of videoed their interaction. And he was talking to her, but she wasn't fully conscious. But she came to, and he was, talking to her, whatnot, and it was just us in the room. And she mumbled, she said, "Lane, where you been?" And I said, "I'm here, Grandma, I'm here." And we were there that day, but that evening, family started to come. But that evening, my grandfather didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave. And I said, well, Granddad, I got to take you back. Because at this time he was in a rehab facility. And I said, I got to take you back. But we called them and they told us that, we could, he could stay or whatnot. But that next morning we got up that morning and I went. And when I got there, me and my brother got there, they said they were taking her down to dialyzer. She was going to do dialysis. And I said, well, what time will y'all be back? And they said they would be back. She would be back by 10 o'clock. So me and my brother went to, get something to eat. We came back and we were in the room, but she still wasn't back. Well, the nurse came in, a hospice nurse came in, and she started talking to me. And she was saying about the care they were going to do to kind of help with the fractured vertebrae in her neck and whatnot. And so in the interim of her talking, they brought my grandmother in. But when they brought her in, she was sitting straight up. They had her up in the bed. But she was making this like gurgling noise. And I said, why is she doing that? And so they were having to, she's like, well, she can't swallow good. And so when they got her in the bed and had got her back on her bed, and she was laying there, my brother and I was standing on either side of her, and she wasn't verbal at all, other than the only thing that she said, she just kept saying, huh, huh, like that. But she had her eyes fixated, looking straight up. Her eyes were fixated, looking straight up. And my brother, he was like, Lane, grandma always have been afraid of heights. And the nurse, she rubbed me on my back and she said, sweetheart, she said, your grandmother is transitioning. And so I called the family and I called my mom and I said, if y'all coming, y'all need to come on. And so I had my iPad with me and I started playing music. And I started playing music and I was singing to her and whatnot. And the family got there. Family came. It was about 6:30 that evening. And everybody had got there. And when everybody was around the bed and Monique and Crystal kind of got in the bed. And my grandmother had a pacemaker. And so they laid on it and I was rubbing her. And I was just talking to her. And I felt something came over me. And I told her, Grandma, it's okay. I said, it's okay. I said, we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. I said, I promise. I said, we're going to be okay. I said, and I promise I'm going to take care of Granddaddy. And I'm going to look after Granddaddy. And she looked back like this. And I said, it's okay. You've done a great job. You've served. You've given your all. I said, it's okay. And she closed her eyes and that was it.
Wow.
She closed her eyes and that was it. And to be in the space with her, with everybody when she took her last breath was something. And I was hurt, but I was stronger than I thought I would be.
Yes, Lord.
I was stronger than I thought I would be. And it was almost kind of, I can't really explain it. It was just almost kind of like it's like my mind, I always thought that I would just lose it. I would just break. But I didn't. And I know there was nobody but God. I know there was nobody but God. And to have to be part of the planning and, make arrangements and to, do things, do everything. That's a space I had never sat in before. And I was like, I didn't know everything, but the interesting part was, I went to work. I didn't stop. I went to work. Went to work, and I'll never forget, I was actually working on one of the computers was down, and I was on the phone with the tech person, and I was talking to him or whatever, and in the midst of me doing that and talking, tears started rolling.
Wow.
And it didn't stop. And so I actually, at that point, I had to dismiss myself from work, and I just drove.
Yeah.
And I was just driving. And then when it got to the point to where they were like, we need you to come, the funeral service, funeral home, he got you like, we need you to come. So, you know, to check off. And I told my cousin, I said, I trust your judgment. So I couldn't make myself go. I couldn't make myself go. And it was late that evening before I actually went to the funeral home. And it was something to see her, you know, her body just there. And it took me, it was like I didn't want to accept it. I really didn't. But I found the inner strength to be able to push through. And I did something I thought I would never do. And I spoke at my grandmother's funeral. I spoke at my grandmother's funeral. And that was something. But when we got to the grave, I couldn't walk to the grave to see them put her down. And that was a process for me. I couldn't make myself go sit down. When everybody was there, I stood in the background. I stood in the background. I stood away. I couldn't make myself go. And it was a few days later that I was sitting at home and I was just sitting there at my bar at the kitchen. And that's when everything hit me. When everything was towards emotion and hurt and anger and frustration. I mean, everything just flooded. But it's a process. It was a process for me. It was a process. And then not even, it was, her birthday was coming up and I had asked her prior to what she wanted to do. And she told me she wanted fish fry. But I still did it. I still did it. So that morning of her birthday, I invited everybody over. We had made plans to, have dinner and everything. I still did it. Everybody came, had a whole fish fry, the whole seafood, everything. And that on her birthday, that day, I'm sorry, guys. I lost my lights. Lost my light. I got it back. There we go. Okay. That evening, everybody was leaving, and I got a call, and get to the hospital. My grandfather's at the hospital, and my grandfather passed on her birthday. And it was only 6 weeks later.
Wow.
But I got in the car to leave, and I was getting ready to drive. And guys, before I even got to the hospital, I broke. Because all I could do was scream. All I could do was scream. And when we got to, my stepsister ended up driving me, and we got to the hospital. My grandfather had transitioned, and it was. But the interesting part, y'all, what was amazing, what was really amazing that morning, I was in my closet, and I don't know what it is. Every time something's getting ready to happen, a change is happening in my life, or something big, I end up in my closet, literally in the closet. And I was in the closet, and I was sitting on the floor, and you guys know my grandmother always sung, and I could hear, but I would hear this song, and the song that was playing, that came on, was "I'm Gonna Take a Trip." And I said, Grandma, I was talking to her, and I was like, I miss you singing. I miss you. I said, but we're going to honor you today still. I'm going to keep my promise and everything. And I said, and Granddaddy will take time. And on everything, I heard my grandmother say, I'm coming to get him.
Whoa.
I did. And that, my stepsister had given me a shirt. And I would have, I don't know if y'all knew, on Facebook, I would have different excerpts, different times when I would be with them, and I would tell their little story. They were hilarious together. And she gave me a shirt, and it said, "The Albert and El Willie Show." And I said, I'm still smiling today. I ain't gonna break down or nothing, because we're just gonna celebrate today. And on her birthday that night, and when I was at the hospital and I was sitting on the floor in the hospital, And it was clear to me. I was like, y'all, she told me that today. And my aunt told me, she said, she said, sometimes the Holy Spirit will reveal things to you in a voice that is calming, that's familiar. They're speaking to you to let you know. But my grandfather passed on her birthday that night. And that was to lose the two constant pillars in my life was hard, because I was like, what do I do now? And that's why I say when your everyday constant is no longer there, what do you do? What do you do? But it took a lot of prayer, a lot of moments of riding in the car and talking to God, get a little frustrated, you know.
Yeah.
But it's what I learned, and I went to therapy. I did therapy. And one thing was to learn that grief is a process and there is no time.
Yeah.
There is no time. There are some days that you may laugh, some days you may smile, but whatever you feel it. Feel it in that moment. And you sit in it, and then you come out of it. So when the holidays come around, it is a little difficult sometimes. But I know for me, I can say for me, I try to find those memories, those fun memories where I laugh or I smile, and I appreciate. And what I started doing was appreciating the moments that I did have, because the selfishness in me wanted them here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The selfishness in me wanted them here. And that's what I had to learn. It was me being selfish, but I had to understand that I knew that the state that they were in, they were no longer enjoying life.
Exactly.
To have to battle physically, to have to struggle physically, to where you're codependent on a lot of things. And when death happens that way, it gives you a different spin. But to lose someone tragically with no expectation, that's a blow.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a blow.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes the process of it, when it's, as I think you said it earlier, Xavier, it's kind of like you kind of know what's happening.
Yeah.
Even though you don't want it to happen, you know what's happening. But for individuals that experience losing a loved one unexpectedly,
Right.
that's a different fold. That's a different fold.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of what you said, I remember when I lost my great grandmother, and during that time, we knew that it was coming, because she was her health was starting to decline, and she was suffering from um, uh, it was sundowners. There's that's like I think it's another stage of dementia and Alzheimer's type thing. So she was suffering through that, and health was going down. So we knew it was coming. Um, and so, as we were preparing, after I came down from Maryland with my mom, and we went down to uh, it was South Carolina, at my grandmother's house, because my great grandmother was staying with my grandmother. My grandmother was taking care of her, and so we went down there to help out. And the last, trying to see, we went there, and her last day, I think my mom went in there and fixed up her room and stuff, fixed up her pillow and everything. And I had gone in there earlier that day because she hadn't seen me in a while, because being in Maryland, and we talk on the phone, but it's just been a while. And so when I saw her, I just wasn't used to how she looked now, because last time I saw her, she was out here in Maryland for Thanksgiving in person, and she was very healthy looking and everything. But now then when I saw her, she, you know, looked completely different. And so, um, I gave her a kiss and everything, and we talked. I updated her about my life and how was in the master's program and everything like that. And so she had a little smile on her face, and um, that I think it was early that morning. Um, she ended up passing. We called the family over, and so I was with my grandmother and making sure my grandmother was okay, and I hugged my grandmother while the family they um, was walking as they saw that the body was rolling out and everything. They came and got the body, and after the funeral was very difficult because even though we knew it's a difficult thing, it's a very difficult thing to go through a funeral, and especially a very close family member. And so um, after the whole process and everything, I had a dream um, about her, and this was like a couple, I want to say a couple of nights later, or either a week later, or a couple nights later. I think it was after I left South Carolina, after everything was over, and we all went back home. And I had a dream, and I was talking with him. It was like a white room, and in this dream, it the emotion was just it was so great. And I heard her voice, and I heard her say, "It's okay. It's okay. You can. It's okay, and you can let me go." And I heard her say that to me because we were just talking in my dream and everything, and then I said that. And as soon as she said that to me, it just broke me in that dream. And it's like I wanted to cry, but I couldn't cry, you know? And I'm trying to see, I don't think I could see her, but I heard her voice, and it was just white. And then she said that a couple times. And after that, I woke up and I was heartbroken. But then I knew that I knew that hearing that, I was like, okay, I understand, but it's just it's a difficult thing, you know, especially hearing that. So I definitely can relate with that. But um, like you said, grief, dealing with loss, it's a thing of where you know it's a process
It
where
is.
it's
It is.
it's time to get over that. And people can deal with it in very various ways. And sometimes dealing with grief um, can cause anger,
Mhm.
feelings of anger um, when they lose their loved ones. Because I've had different friends have said that they felt angry that their loved ones are gone. Um, have you were you guys did you guys feel that, I guess, anger that your loved ones were gone, that you just felt like, why are you gone, why did you leave me, like you just felt angry in a sense?
I think for me, I felt anger after a series of deaths.
Mm.
Mhm,
Um, for really in like a 2 year span,
mhm,
it was several people that passed that were
mhm,
loved ones. Like really like 2016, first my sister, the baby passed. My sister, the baby passed 6 weeks. She was 6 weeks old. She passed. Then it was a few months after that. Then my cousin, passed, and she was only, she was only 32 years old. She passed, and then it was a person I grew up with, calling him uncle. He passed. Then there was, it was a lot. Then my grandmother, then my grandfather, then my aunt, then when Felicia passed, and then when my cousin Kevin passed, it was a lot. I experienced anger then, because it was like all these people that I felt a connection to, like all my outlets, all my tentacles were taken from me. Like I felt naked, like you stripped from all your, and it's like, what do you like? I'm like, I got a problem. I got a problem, and it was a moment to where I went on pause for a minute, because I felt like I'm doing all this transition, career change, job change, relationship change. It was so many things I was experiencing that was a death that was just leaving me, and I did get angry. I did experience anger. And I had an attitude. I had my outlet with that anger. I'm not gonna say was like physically destructive, but it was destructive mentally, emotionally, inwardly. Because I felt that I was, you get to a place of being numb. You don't want to feel.
Right.
You don't want to feel anything, because all I feel right now is just a low place and hurt.
Yeah.
And it's sitting real heavy. It's sitting real heavy. Like, what, I don't even care no more. That's the kind of attitude that you have. Like, I don't even care no more. What's the purpose? And
Absolutely.
as close as a closer relationship, or your background of growing up, your faith, your religion, all that, see, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the Lord know best. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear, God don't make no mistakes. I don't want to hear none of that. That's just being honest and being real. And not, we all grew up in the church and everything. And we know scriptures on, don't quote nothing to me. Nothing. I didn't want to hear it. And I think a lot of times we have a facade sometimes that we live behind. But for me, that was my truth. And I remember a minister saying, like, well, God is doing this. And I was like, well, right now, I don't need to hear that from you.
Yeah.
And, I know that they were offended. But right now, my truth is, don't come to me with no scriptures. Don't come to me with none of that. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And that was honest until God had to work on me. He had to work on me. He really did.
Yeah.
And that's my truth. So I think once you get to a place to where you realize that I don't have to be a certain way, because you have an idea, like you want to keep going, but you don't want to keep going. You want to go behind a wall and just cry, or just kick off from everybody, but you don't want to, you can, oh, it's okay to shed a few tears, but dry your eyes. No, friend, you can't tell me to dry my eyes.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that. And one thing I've in being with others that have lost loved ones and whatnot, my first thing I'll say is you feel how you feel. You feel how you feel. And you can't let nobody tell you that you're wrong for how you feel. You have to process it the way that you need to process it, and you'll have a come, as you said earlier, Xavier, you have a come to Jesus moment at some point. God will reveal himself to you. And it takes him to do it. Sometimes it's not necessarily a person. And you have people there that support you, that want to be encouraging. And I don't discredit anybody, because all they're just trying to be there, be supportive. You know what I'm saying? But in those moments, sometimes you don't need anybody to say anything. Sometimes you might just need somebody to sit there.
Yeah.
You know, you just need some out. You don't need them to say nothing. You don't need it because they can't fix it.
Yeah.
You can't fix it.
Yeah. Xavier, did you have that type of anger? Or anything? Did you
Yeah,
want to share more?
I'm kind of in the same boat, with Lena. I think there was a series. I think mine kind of worked the opposite. My mother passed again in 2011. Then, as Lena said,
Yeah.
Felicia, cousin, who was like a sister, who was my aunt who took me in after my mother passed. It was her daughter, and she checked up on me constantly, like constantly. And so she passed away like 2.5 years later. Um, and then my aunt passed away. Right, as a matter of fact, in the heart of COVID, it was 2020. Then my uncle passed away in 2021. My grandmother, my father's grandmother, passed away in 2022. So I always say, and I think, even kind of listening to Lena's story and yours, there's a scripture that says that we don't mourn, like others who don't have any hope. And like I think a common theme that I've heard so far is like the hope part. So, but when my mother passed, I didn't have any because I was kind of I people look at me crazy when I tell them this, but like I've never doubted God, but I was like angry with him, because my mother, I called her Jesus' first cousin. Like, we was in church Mount Sinai every time the doors open. And it wasn't just that church thing. It was, she taught us in the home. She would always say, while she was battling cancer, that 2.5 years that she did, that I'm not going to die. She had extreme faith. And
Mm-hmm.
so when that time came, I'm like, wait a minute. This is a woman who was a single mother. She worked 2 jobs. She went to school to get a master's degree to take care of her children. She gave her money faithfully. Like, people who did her wrong, she smiled in their face. She loved them, like just a genuine good person. Loved God. And so you talking about angry, like I was angry with him. And I think that kind of manifested itself physically. Like, I was during that time, I can laugh about it now, even though it wasn't funny then. But, my wife, I would, get angry and I would hit stuff. Like, there's a time I remember I was so angry, I hit the side of my door in the car and like broke the part where you let the window up, like the automatic window, like it broke, like because, and that was just a station of how angry that I was. But as losing more people, and like Lena said, that come to Jesus meeting after that, and I started losing people, I started to realize that things that my mother told me was coming to fruition. So that kind of turned to, okay, God, I see you moving, because my mother would always tell me that I was set apart, that I was chosen. I'm like, my mama, like, all mamas say that about all their children. But like I said, I never forget during the planning process, I was in the room with my aunt, my sister Coco, and my my cousins who were planning, and I said, I want to say something, and they thought I was talking about, right then. It was like, yeah, you say what you want to say. I said, no, at the funeral, and I had no idea what I was going to say, literally to like the morning of, and I got up there and I realized that this is what my mama was talking about. Like, the calling that I have on my life was literally coming into fruition in her death. And as things started to move and I started to lose more people, and God kind of started to use me based on the experience that I had with my mother, that anger went from, okay, I'm angry, now I'm sad, now I'm gaining some hope, and that hope turned into a foundation, and that foundation turned into, okay, I get it, this is what she was talking about. So I think people who deal with these feelings, like Lana said, you just gotta let it play itself out. But I think the important part, playing itself out, is, me, you got you I always go back to God, that relationship. You gotta have
You have
relate,
to.
because if not, everything else in this world, people, whatever it is that you're trying to draw to, they're temporary, and at the same time, they're human just like you are. So they may need a day where they're dealing with something in their life, and you have to know that source. The Bible tells us that we can lay our burdens down, cast our cares upon him. So the heaviness that we feel, man, we are a source to lay that stuff down. And I'm a living witness. I think Lena's a living witness. And you're a living witness of sometimes we just got to go through that process and lay that stuff down, because I think the biggest thing that a lot of people do is carry that weight. One, because they don't know how to communicate, or two, they feel like nobody cares. They feel alone. That was my problem. I felt like I was alone with so many people surrounding me. But I think you have to find a good support system. Like Lena said, sometimes just let them know, I just need you just to be here, not to say nothing. I just need you. But also people who know who you are and kind of know your ebbs and flows of what you're going through. But more importantly, just having that relationship with God.
Right.
And channeling that to him into something else, where it doesn't harden your heart, it starts to change.
Absolutely.
And one thing I would say, when you experiencing death, sometimes individuals, I don't have any regrets.
Right.
I don't have any regrets. I think it's a harder piece sometimes for people when they have regret.
Absolutely.
I wish, or I should have, or this, that, and the other. But I don't have any regrets. And I feel as though even experiencing physical loss with individuals, I know without a shadow of a doubt, each person knew how I felt about them and how they felt about me. And that makes a difference as well. Sometimes we've given death too much glory.
Right.
Yeah.
We've given it too much glory. And it's all it is literally that. It's a transition. It's just it's another phase that we all experience. You all experience, and whether it be there's physical, there's mental, emotional, there's you go through things even in every day. You may be physically still here, but you experience a death. Whether it be relationship, whether it be job, or whatever it looks like, but you can't have any regrets, and you literally, as you grow, you learn to cherish every moment, because life is just that. It is just a vapor.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It is just a vapor.
I was gonna ask, like, what do you tell people that have regrets and that say, like, I wish I would have, done X, Y, and Z, and especially for the people that are feuding with somebody, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of people that have issues with family members, whatever, and then of course you all of a sudden you have that unexpected death, or then they're just like, oh my God, I didn't, say what I want to say. And again, what do you tell that person?
It's a hard pill to swallow, but I mean, it's really a hard pill to swallow, but it's a lesson even in that. And at a point, just in life in general, you have to learn how to forgive yourself.
Absolutely.
Even though that person may not be there for you to say I'm sorry or whatever, or if you feel regret or feel that guilt, you have to release yourself from that. And you have to release it to God, and He's the only one that can give you peace.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the only one who can give you peace. And you sometimes I know that it is a struggle for some people sometimes, because you have those moments, but you have to forgive yourself, because the enemy can use that regret as a noose around your neck.
That's true.
Absolutely.
I think I kind of think we already touched on this. So I'm going to ask one final question. Final thoughts. So, what would you tell somebody as far as that's going through dealing with loss and grief, and they just need a roadmap or something just to help them to get started? Like, what would you tell them to 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 give them advice? What would you tell them to do as far as dealing with whatever they're dealing with? whether it be the loss of a parent, loss of a grandparent, a child, either unexpectedly or due to, any type of outside circumstance? What would you tell them? And like you said, they don't want to hear um, the church, quote unquote, it's gonna be okay, God, you know, it's in God's plan, etc. What would you tell them?
I say to honor. You honor them, and you honor them in a way of living your best life. That's the best thing you can do. Even with us sharing the hard loss that we all have experienced, we're here now, and we haven't shed a tear, and we're able to talk about it. There's sometimes there's liberty in that. That's freeing within itself, and it's evident that God has played a major part. It's just like you have a wound. You see that wound, but it don't hurt no more. It don't hurt like it used to. It might still be tender.
Yeah,
It might still be
yeah,
tender. But
yeah.
the best thing I would suggest is the love that you have for those individuals. Take that love and be the best that you can be, and be the best person that you can be. And to take that love that you have for them and give it away to other people and other things in life. Honor. That's how I feel. I think you honor them in the best
Yeah.
way, because the love that they have for you, they would want the best for you. And you take that and just honor them.
Yeah.
Walk in the space that that they're smiling, that they're at peace with you, just with that
Yeah.
alone.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
how I my advice is always just to be your best person. That love, take that love that you have and that they
Yeah.
have, that you have for one another, and use it to the best,
Yeah.
to be that light.
Exactly.
Um, I would say God, community, and Lena touched on it briefly, but therapy. I know if you'd asked me a couple of years ago, like my views on therapy has drastically changed, especially now since I'm going to school for psychology. But even before then, um, I started to see that the things that a lot of church people, or people who are kind of thinking one way, kind of tainted, but God has literally gave us gifts in the earth to be able to use to help heal his people. Even the Bible says seek wise counsel. um, so I say God, community, and therapy. God, of course, being the first and foremost. That's my go-to. I've seen it
Absolutely.
in my life. I remember just this year, God had released something off of me dealing with my own mother. You're talking about, this is 11 years ago. It just goes back to that whole time of grief thing. While I wasn't grieving necessarily hard, but certain times, it would get rough on me. Uh, just wondering, how would she feel about her son now at 29 years old, who I lost at 17. But God spoke to me and he said, time doesn't heal all wounds, but I do. So while time may not heal all wounds, God definitely does. And he doesn't operate in our time. So it could be 6 months for one person. It could be 6 years for the next person. But my father told me, when I was going through the whole grieving process, is that um, there's no work without progress, and there's no progress without work. So you got to put the work in while you're looking to progress. And that includes defining communities, a community of people. It could be one person that you can turn to in those moments. Um, that way you can have somebody right there, that's offering a support system for you, but also therapy. Don't be afraid to go sit down and talk with someone who is licensed and educated in this manner, who can point you in the right direction and get you on a path to healing. I just say, like Lena said, find something that works for you. But as long at first, because again, if you draw nigh to him, he'll draw nigh to you. If you keep him first and you draw to him, I promise you, there is no limits to the healing and no limits to the blessings that he has, even in the face of death, um, that he could use to start your testimony for other people who's going through as well.
Absolutely.
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 And you literally just you took my points that I was gonna say. And I think that's because we have we have that psychology. The same thing. I was gonna say, um, but the mental health side, a lot of people they don't take advantage of therapy and they don't take advantage of counseling. So definitely what I was going to recommend, especially in this day and age, is to go seek help, because you always it's good to have just that third unbiased party,
Mm-hmm.
that
Ooh.
you can just release um, all of your whatever you're going through, all of your emotions to that person without worry of judgment, without worry of anything like that. So it's always just good to have that safe space, and it's so many resources out there as far as with therapy and counseling. And even if you don't want to do it in person, they have online therapy, online counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so many good resources. I'm actually starting a newsletter. You guys may um, uh, looked at. I've been advertising this, but I'll be starting a newsletter soon, and I'm going to be listing some resources with my newsletter. So it'll be releasing soon. So y'all stay tuned for that. I'm also gonna have with my um, website. I'm revamping my website where I'm gonna have a discussion board where we can actually continue on different types of conversations, especially with this, where we can get people involved and we can share more stories and share more resources, community resources, stateside or wherever. That way you can find out where you can go, to get help. So I'm going to be releasing my new um, newsletter. It'll be coming out, I'm going to say, um, day before Thanksgiving. So it's called Spade Speak, the Mental Health Vibe. So y'all stay tuned for that. I'm
Awesome.
gonna post out a link for that. So y'all make sure y'all subscribe. And the first post is actually going to be on holiday blues. So a
Okay.
similar theme to this, on and giving tips on how you can cope with the blues during the holidays. Um,
Okay.
but again, this was a very insightful live podcast. So thank you guys for being on. Y'all were amazing. Um, Thank you for those that tuned in. Thank you for tuning in. This will be available on my actual podcasting network. I'll release it on Wednesday. So y'all stay tuned for that. I'll release it. It'll be available at 5 a.m. in the morning. So 5 a.m. on Wednesday. So that'll be the release of this episode as well as the newsletter.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I'm probably going to be since it's an hour. I may do a two-part. I don't know. I'll see, or maybe do the whole thing. I'll see. But y'all stay tuned for it. But
That's
again,
awesome.
thank you guys for tuning in, and definitely I
Thank you.
want to continue to collab with both of you guys, and we're gonna keep this party rolling.
Thank you.
No problem. So y'all shout out your TikToks and Instagrams on where people can follow you again? Elena, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I got brain fog right now. I
Oh,
on Facebook. Facebook is Elena Kelly. On IG, it is Chef underscore AK1, and then also have another IG. It's and the Chef AK underscore one is the same on TikTok, Twitter, all the same, same name. And on for L Willies, 324 on IG, L Willies LLC on Facebook, and it's the same as well on TikTok. And you can also go onto the website lwillies.com. That's ELWILLIES.com.
that. I heard that. Xavier,
Yeah.
what about you?
Man, I need to step my social media game up because
Fred, let me tell you a secret. I had somebody help me.
Look, you can go on Fiverr. Go on Fiverr. Get you a social media assistant.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
do that because I'm kind of old school when it comes to social media. Even though I'm young, like I'm on Facebook and that's it. Like Facebook is my name, Xavier Jones. I do have a TikTok that I engage with more than any other social media outside of Facebook, and it's Kingdom Thoughts. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Kingdom Thoughts on TikTok and just my name, Xavier Jones, on Facebook.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
then
I think
I'm sorry. Then the AK
ahead.
Rainbow Tea, AK and Kyrie. You can subscribe on YouTube as well as same thing on IG as well as Facebook.
Okay.
And that is the podcast. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bet. And I think Tamara, I think she is she has a business where she helps with marketing or something like that. Tamara
Really?
Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her I forgot what's the name of her business. It's anchored oh gosh. Go on her YouTube page. I mean not YouTube page, but her Facebook page.
I might have to tap.
It or hit her up on Facebook. But I honestly remember her advertising something about social media. She's got a business that promotes social media or marketing or something like that. So I hit her up. I think she's
brand building, things like that. Yeah. Because there's several people that are out there that do that. She would be a resource to reach out to as well. Yeah. But I had Xavier, don't feel bad. I had to tap in. I had to get somebody to help me. I'm just learning, I ain't gonna tell y'all who I had to get to make my TikTok page, but we're gonna move on. Yeah, I gotta try to stand and know, I'm getting old, so
ain't nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong.
Yeah, they'll come out with another one next and I'll be lost. But I actually have a person that's my brand builder marketing person that helps with all my social media.
Okay.
Because there's a lot to keep up with too, especially when you have everyday thing of that, but that's their specialty. So definitely reach out, let them do what they're supposed to do.
Exactly. That's why I'm building a team to help me out with my website and also because I can't do this by myself.
It becomes a lot. It becomes a lot.
Yeah.
You gotta tap into the resources. We talking about resources, get people to tap in the community. We got to tap in.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the way that it works. We all need one another.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I've enjoyed all right, y'all. Thank you so much.
Me too.
Tuning in. If y'all want this on your podcast and everything, I'll send y'all the links and everything, and then we'll get together and I'll get it to you guys.
Absolutely. Xavier, I make sure I have your soul bowl, okay?
Please do. Oh, please do. Let me know.
I got your soul bowl. I got
you. You got gotta do some national shipping, so I can get like
I have actually shipped stuff all the way to the Ukraine.
Wow.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I had a friend of mine, her son was playing ball internationally, and he needed meal prep, and he wanted me to do meal prep, and I was like, "Well, thank you, Lord."
I
My
know
food done went across the water.
Global, international.
You know.
Okay.
So,
well,
we
can have to talk. We can have to talk.
Hey, hey, I go back, like I said, it's God all day. Everybody has a purpose, and sometimes you go through certain things in life that seem tragic, but it will help you to see some things define your purpose. Right. So I'm thankful and I'm blessed with that.
And now Mama Kelly's name is Global.
Global.
Yes, Lord.
Yes.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. Put a name in lights.
Yes, Lord.
I actually the actual logo is her actual authentic signature.
Wow.
That I had taken from a postcard that she had sent to my grandfather.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. That's amazing.
It is.
Wow.
But I love y'all. It was great to see y'all.
Love
great
you.
Y'all enjoy y'all night.
Definitely. I look forward to it.
Yes.
Cool.
We're gonna definitely get this going.
Absolutely.
All right, Facebook. Love you guys, and I will see all. Well, you guys will hear this on Wednesday.
Awesome. Good deal.
Peace, everybody.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.